Hello everyone, welcome to the first video I've posted in a while. It's good to be back. It's good to be posting content again. I've been still doing stuff live on Twitch all the time, so if y'all want to come and hang out on Twitch, we're always there doing stuff. Come chill. The video that we're making today is because people have been asking me how to make more competitive Pokemon, so when we battle each other people can, be fighting on the same level. People want to know the things that I know for how to make better Pokemon. So without further ado, let's get into it. I lost my professional looking intro, so we're gonna just use this. Boop, boop, boop. So one of the first things that you're going to be looking at is you're going to be picking the types of Pokemon that you want on your team. You can pick anything that you want to put into a team on your team. You don't have to follow the metas. You can do whatever the heck you want to. However, it is highly recommended that you do try and stick to a meta group, because the different types of groups we'll put somewhere in the video will do better against each type of group as their own. However, you can still pull off some cool stuff and just pick the Pokemon you want to have fun with. So the reason that different Pokemon get put into different tiers is because of different base stats that they have. So base stats are how high the stats get to without any sort of training on them. The Pokemon that have higher base stat totals are going to be overall a lot more powerful than things that have lower base stats. There are exceptions to this, but it's pretty standard that the higher base stat totals are going to be the ones that are more overpowering. So trying to pick a team that's got like a good balance of stats around the board is generally a good idea, so that you can have something that's a little bit bulkier to switch into to take certain hits. Another good thing to consider when picking the Pokemon for your teams is to make sure that you've got good type coverage. Let's say you're me. I really like making monotype teams, but I know that those come with their weaknesses. So like a full grass team, probably gonna have some weakness to fire. Probably not the best idea to have no moves that attack fire types. So a good thing to do to cover that would be water type attacks, ground type attacks, things that cover the other types, so I don't need to be sweating every time one of those types come out. So when you're picking your Pokemon and you're picking the moves for your Pokemon, you want to make sure you get a wide coverage of move types. Another thing to consider is that a lot of Pokemon come with what's called setup moves. So there's moves that can boost your stats. A lot of people see them as bad moves. Whenever I ask people if they use setup moves at all, they will always be referred immediately to something like Growl. They'll be like, I don't use Growl, that's a bad move. You're right, Growl is a bad move, but there's other moves that can boost your stats that can make your Pokemon just sweep the others that are really good, and you should be considering using them. You don't have to use them, but you should be considering them. But what you don't want to do is you don't want to have your team set up to be entirely setup mons, because then if one of them gets taken out, your next guy is not going to be strong enough to clean up all on his own, and he's going to need to go for more stat boosts. And if the other person's already set up, it's gonna be an uphill battle. I'd highly recommend looking at Smogon, because Smogon's got a collective pool of what everyone has agreed is really strong sets for Pokemon, and they take advantage of the base stats for the training and for the move pools, and it's just a good place to start out to look for different things to do with your Pokemon. While you're still learning, you'll be able to get there to a point where you can come up with your own bizarre things, but when you're starting out, I'd highly recommend just taking the ideas that other people are using and seeing maybe why they're using. So Smogon is a good place to go to get those types of information. Now that you've picked your Pokemon, it's time to make them. There's a lot of things that you're going to want to have set up when considering making a Pokemon. You're not going to just be like, oh, well, I'm just gonna grab this random one that I caught and boom, that's perfect. It's the perfect Pokemon. Look at this beautiful Magikarp. It's got great stats. No, there's lots of things to consider with Pokemon, which is why there's such a huge gap between casual players and players who have done all of this research that I have slapped together really quickly for you in this video. Things like natures, individual values, effort values, egg moves, things that you didn't know about because they weren't fully explained throughout the course of the game. So natures in Pokemon influence the max and min values of the stats that your Pokemon has. The different stats that are affected in Pokemon Sword and Shield are represented by either having a red highlight on the stat name or a blue highlight. The red highlight means that it's increasing, and the blue highlight means that it's decreasing. Natures are things that up until Sword and Shield you had to entirely consider before making your Pokemon. There is something that you can do now after the fact if you didn't think about it at first, but we'll get to that later when we're talking about how to quickly throw together a Pokemon. Quickly. It's faster than the rest of this. The standard way to do natures is depending on how you want to obtain your Pokemon. I prefer doing the egg method. I like hatching Pokemon and just having them come out the right way. I find that to be the most effective way because you can also control the IVs really easily like that, and if you want to, you could even shiny hunt really easily like that. Another option that people do though is they will do the den battles, because den battle Pokemon can also come with high IVs at the start. If you're going to be doing the catch method, or what you want on you is a Pokemon with the ability Synchronize. Now, what Synchronize does is if the Pokemon is the first in your party when you go to start an encounter, it's got a 50% chance of influencing its nature onto the Pokemon that you're encountering. You don't even have to have it healthy in your party. You can have it knocked out and at the front so that it's not the first thing that goes up, but that will make it so you've got a far better chance of getting the nature that you want for the Pokemon that you're catching in the shiny den, or if you're going around in the wild area and you're looking for a certain Pokemon. It's a way that people do for farming. Again, not my favorite, but the option's there. If you're going to be like me and you're going to go for the eggs, the best thing that I would say to do is to use Dittos. Now, if you're looking for Dittos in Sword and Shield, there's a den. I don't remember which den it is, but it gives you Dittos that have several IVs on them. We'll talk about the IVs in a second, but you can also get many different natures of them. If you want to cheese the system, like I did, use Ralts's to get different Dittos. Use the Synchronize to get all of the different natures that you're looking for. Now, the reason that we use Ditto is because Ditto can be used to get Pokemon eggs in breeding with pretty much everything. Anything that can breed Pokemon can breed with Ditto. With like rare exceptions of like Nidoqueen stuff. Ditto is your go-to and is the helpful one for getting eggs. And the way that Ditto transfers its nature down, or any Pokemon transfers its nature down, is when you put it into breed, you make sure that it's holding the item Everstone. If you have not yet gotten your Everstone in your copy of Sword or Shield, you can get it just in front of Turffield Stadium, right outside the gym. It should just be a little item on the ground. You can just pick it up and then give it to your Pokemon that you're going to be transferring the nature down with. There are Pokemon nurseries all over the map in Sword and Shield. I think there's 3 different ones. The one that I use is the one in Bridgefield in the middle of the wild area. You can use whichever one you want to. It does not change anything. A small note to consider when you're hatching eggs in any capacity is to use a Pokemon with Flame Body and have that in the first of your party. They never really explain this in the game. If you got a Pokemon with Flame Body and I think maybe Magma Armor, it makes Pokemon eggs hatch 50% faster. So that 10,000 steps it takes to hatch a dragon, down to 5,000. You can save so much time with hatching eggs. Now, IVs, or individual values, are values that have an effect on each individual stat on your Pokemon. So the 6 stats that we're looking at are HP, attack, defense, special defense, and speed. Some Pokemon you can get away without having perfect IVs all the way through, but for the most part, you're going to be wanting to try and get them up as high as you can. And there's 2 ways to do that, one of which is the easy way, which we'll talk about also later, and the other way is through either breeding or, once again, through the den battles. Now with den battles, I believe you get 3 or 4. I'm sure you get some though. But if you're going to be doing breeding, which is the method that I recommend, you're going to be wanting Pokemon that have the varied stats, having the highest number of stats. The highest an IV can go is 31. It doesn't seem like a lot, but it can have a large influence later in the game. Not to mention, surviving with 1 health point is a lot better than not surviving because you didn't have those extra IVs. They're worth getting. IVs are another one of the things that are not so clearly explained in Pokemon through the story mode. So if you want to check your Pokemon's IVs, first what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to have beaten Leon and then gone to the battle tower and won 6 rounds in the battle tower. After you've done that, you can go into your Pokemon box from anywhere and you can press plus to roll through and check their stats on the right hand side. When a stat has a 31 in it, it will say that it is the best. Everything else, kind of irrelevant. So I never bothered to learn it. when it's a 31, it's the best, and that's what's important. When you're going to be breeding the stats, you're going to, again, want to be looking to your Ditto. Dittos you can get from the dens. They will have 3 or 4 different IVs, I believe, maxed out, and you can transfer those over using an item called the Destiny Knot. To get the Destiny Knot, you're going to want to go to the Hammerlock Stadium Pokemon Center, and just to the right of the mart here, there's a lady who has BP items for sale. You can buy rare candies, the power items for the Eevee Training, and also the Destiny Knot. The Destiny Knot is an item that they implemented a few games ago, where when it's held and used for breeding, you can transfer IVs over from both parents to the one baby Pokemon. It'll take 3 stats from one parent, it'll take 2 stats from another parent. So you're gonna have to breed a few and just keep checking to see which ones got which stats. If the baby took the stats that you wanted from the Ditto, the ones that say best, then you can swap off of that one and use that baby as the next parent, get a different Ditto with the other stats, and you can keep funneling in the stats like that. You can generally get the job done with just 2 Dittos with 3 or 4 best stats. Some Pokemon, when you're breeding them, you're going to want to get egg moves. Now, egg moves are moves that can only be transferred to a Pokemon from breeding with different Pokemon in the same egg group. If you don't know whether or not a Pokemon is in the same egg group, I highly recommend looking it up. There are tons of guides everywhere. I'm not going to put something in here that explains each individual egg group. Lots of people have done it well before. I'd recommend Bulbapedia. Their field groups are accurate and they're very helpful, and that's what I use to figure out all of the moves that I want to transfer over with egg moves. So now that we've got our Pokemon, there's 2 ways that we can be Eevee training our Pokemon. I'm going to tell you both ways because I'm going to explain the fundamentals of what Eevee training is. But I'm going to strongly recommend you the easiest way. This is just one of the many ways that Game Freak has made making competitive Pokemon such an easy task. Such an easy task for us that it's almost laughable. So in Eevee, not the cute little one that everyone is very familiar with, but the effort values for a Pokemon are points they have obtained from putting in effort to raise their stats. You can get effort values for any Pokemon that you take out that isn't in the battle tower or in a competitive game against one of your friends, like not an online battle. It's got to be inside the core game. So any wild Pokemon, any trainer Pokemon, the Elite Four, any of it. Different Pokemon give different stats based on whatever their highest stat is. My favorite example of this is Boldor gives you defense EVs when you take them out. The differences between a stat that is Eevee trained and a stat that isn't Eevee trained are extremely dramatic. And the reason that the average competitive Pokemon does better than a playthrough Pokemon is because playthrough Pokemon have scattered EVs throughout all of their stats sporadically that don't make any sense. You only get 508 EVs into a Pokemon. This is enough to level up 2 stats all the way maxed with 4 extra points thrown into another stat. If you are using a different type of Pokemon, maybe a Pokemon that's like a diverse attacker or something that's kind of tanky, so you want to have a little bit extra, you can spice it up and put like 100 points here or there. But typically, you're going to want to be putting all of the points into 2 stats. Again, reference Smogon when doing your Eevee training. They will explain which Pokemon takes which effort into which stats and for why. Their justification for each individual case is going to be a lot better than anything that I'm going to be able to summarize right now. The way that Game Freak initially intended that we were supposed to do it is we could use the power items, which are held items on Pokemon, and when you take out a Pokemon, it gives you 4 to that stat. So if you take out something like Boldore, that gives you defense points, and you've got a power bracer anklet, I'll look that up after, the one that gives you 4 to defense, you would get 6 to defense for taking it out. You could double this by if a Pokemon had Pokerus, it would make their stats grow double. So you could get 12 for a single takedown. This seems pretty fast, right? It gets easier. You've probably, at this point in time in your Pokemon careers, if you're looking at this video, have come across items like protein and zinc and calcium, all of those. These items are used to boost EVs on different stats. Whichever stat it says that it gives a slight boost to, that's the stat that it's raising the EVs for, and it boosts them by 10, not exceeding the 252 cap to an individual stat. In previous games, they would only be able to go up to the 100, so you'd be able to get like a little bit of the way there, and then you'd have to do the remaining 152 all of your own accord. In this game though, they've made it significantly easier. You can go the whole 252 off of just those items. You can literally just drug your Pokemon. You can just straight up, you can just kneel. It was Neil Armstrong, right? I don't remember. The Tour de France, not the astronaut. Lance Armstrong? I don't know, man. One Google search later. You can straight up Lance Armstrong that guy. You can just dope him to the max. And you can buy the stat enhancers from the Winden Pokemon Center. There's tons of different ways to get money so that you can buy all of them. That's not something we're going to be covering in this video, but there is tons of ways to get money really quickly in this game, so buying all of the drugs to boost your Pokemon should not be a problem. That is the way that I highly recommend to you. Previously I said there was an easier way to get the correct natures that you wanted and an easier way to get the IVs that you wanted. This is something that you can do once you're at the Winden Battle Tower. To change the natures of the Pokemon, you can get the different mints that represent the different natures for your Pokemon. So it would make it so that the same effect would be had as if the Pokemon had the Jolly nature. You can use these mints on a Pokemon, but they do cost 50 battle points in the Battle Tower. I would recommend only using them if it's a Pokemon that you specifically want to use that you didn't prep beforehand. For instance, if you stumbled across a shiny Pokemon, or if you have like your playthrough Pokemon that you really wanted to make part of your competitive team, using the mints would be a great way to change the nature and change the effects on the stats. Similarly, you can boost IVs with an item referred to as a bottle cap. The bottle cap itself in the description does not say anything about boosting the IVs. However, once you have one, you can come over to the Hyper Trainer guy inside the Battle Tower and trade him a bottle cap for the ability to Hyper Train your Pokemon. The Pokemon that you want to Hyper Train must be level 100 first to Hyper Train it. But again, if you've already got a Pokemon that you want to keep, for instance a shiny, or like the playthrough Pokemon, or maybe it's something that's just got almost perfect stats and you just want to give it that little extra edge for like the defense or the HP that you missed before when you were breeding it, because you got antsy, you could use bottle caps once the Pokemon's level 100 and Hyper Train the stats so that it gives you the 31 in the IV of your choice. You could also, with a golden bottle cap, boost all of the stats in a single go. The last thing that I'd like to talk about while we're here in the Battle Tower is that the guy over on the left-hand side that sold the bottle cap also sells a bunch of other competitive items that you can use on your Pokemon. Smogon will give recommendations of which items you should use on which Pokemon, but for the most part, they're all going to be there. There's a few that aren't in here, But for the most part, they're all going to be there. In closing this video, guys, we've covered lots of stuff about how to build Pokemon, but just because you've made better Pokemon doesn't mean that you're going to all of a sudden start winning. A large part of the competitive aspect of Pokemon is just playing and memorizing a lot of different things. You're going to want to memorize the types of things that Pokemon can do, what they're capable of, so that you can anticipate what to expect and you know how to respond and what actions to take. It takes time. Don't be hard on yourself. Okay? You'll get there. Just gotta keep trying. I believe in you. Thank you all to everyone who watched this video. I hope the information provided is helpful, and I hope to see you guys over on Twitch, where you can come and kick my butt in a Pokemon battle or two. I love y'all, and until next time, Lionel Pride out. Mwah! Goodbye, homies.